Hey everyone. I had all sorts of plans for today and what I was going to talk about. Um, and then I went to Mass and I just kind of was like, yep, no, there's something completely different I need to talk about. So I want to read just a passage from the Gospel today, which is from Mark. So, Mark chapter 7. The whole Gospel is from verse 31 to 37. I'm going to read this part to you. Jesus is near the Sea of Galilee, and the people have brought him a man who is he's deaf and he has a speech impediment, and they're asking him to heal him. So he takes him aside and says he put his finger into the man's ears, and spitting touched his tongue. Then he looked up to heaven and groaned and said to him, "Ephatha," that is, be opened. And immediately the man's ears were opened, and his speech impediment was removed, and he spoke plainly. And I just want to kind of hone in on the part where it says, be open. Because that is something that I feel like God is calling each and every one of us to do. He's calling each of us to be open to his call. And so I just want to ask, kind of ask you guys, look in yourselves and ask yourself, am I actually open? Am I open to what God is calling me to do in my life? Again, we kind of talked about a few days ago, my last video, we talked about being open a little bit. And so I just really want to pose that question to you. Ask yourself, look deep inside yourselves, am I actually open to whatever it is God's calling me to do? Am I open to having more kids if that's what God's calling me to do? Am I open to taking this new job if that is what God's calling me to do? Am I open to, maybe making less money or having a smaller house? Or am I willing to am I open to being challenged? Because ultimately that's what it's probably going to be, right? That challenge may lead to something good, will lead to something good, right? But something that so there is a conservative talk show podcast host named Ali Stuckey, and she talks about the prosperity gospel, right? And I think everybody's kind of seen this, right? There's all these mega churches that have these pastors, if you can call them that, who are all about the prosperity gospel. God is going to give you everything you need and everything you want, and everything is going to be great, and life is going to be great. And that's really not what we're here on earth to do. That's not what we're called to do. Yes, there will be times where we are blessed in abundance, but we could just as easily be Job as we could be, say, David, who becomes king, right? It really just depends on what is our vocation, what is God calling us to do. And so I'd really encourage you guys, really dig deep. Take this time. Now, on that, I kind of want to give you a couple of tips, and I can't say that I'm the best at these, but these are things that I try and do. A couple of tips to help you along the road, right? So the first thing is, I've been reading this book by Cardinal Robert Sarah, named Power of Silence. That's the name of the book. And he talks all about how important it is to be in the silence. We're not going to hear God through tons and tons of words. Yes, we need to have that type of prayer where we're saying things, right? But it's essential that we have that time of peace and quiet, where we're away from our phones, we're away from our computers, we're away from other people, even if it means waking up 10 minutes earlier than you normally do, and just having that 10 minutes of quiet, because the silence is where God really talks to us. That's why it's so important to go to adoration. I'm telling you, if you haven't been to adoration in a while, I strongly encourage you to. If you don't know what adoration is, message me, ask me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. But if you haven't been just sitting quietly in the presence of God, whether you're sitting quietly in your room or you're sitting in an adoration chapel or whatever, if you haven't taken the time to sit there in the quiet and not say anything and just listen, man, you got to do it. because it's awesome. And that is when he talks to you. It might not be the first time, it might not be the second time, but it is, you're building that relationship with him and you are learning, you're training your body to hear him. Just like we train our bodies when we work out, or we train our bodies when we eat healthier, we train our bodies to work on less sleep or to do this or whatever. We're training our bodies, we're training our minds to actually hear what he has to say to us. So those kind of actually the two things I was going to say kind of tie them into the same thing. But I just really encourage you, and maybe it is. And again, I'm not perfect at this, right? I've a long ways to go. But if you haven't been taking time to be in the quiet and to just listen, don't start with an hour, right? Start with something smaller. Start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Wake up 5 minutes early. Wake up 10 minutes early and try that for a week. And then if you can do it for 5 or 10 minutes for a week, then try 15 minutes for a week. And slowly build that habit of having that quiet time with God where you're not talking. No one else is talking. It's just you listening to God, because that's where he's going to speak to you. So I encourage you, brothers and sisters, be open and listen. God bless you. Have a great night. Have a great week.